Boy, there are no good gods. But this is God of War.
Come on then.
You want me to hit you?
I want you to try.
This week, I'm taking a look at God of War 2018. And I have to preface this by saying I'm not exactly an expert on the original trilogy of God of War games. I have seen a little bit of them. I've seen a whole lot of the boss killing, if you know what I mean. But I didn't play through those games myself, not in any large capacity. But I do have a fresh pair of eyes onto this actual version of God of War 2018, and there is Ragnarok coming shortly this year, so this is a great time to check out this game on PC. It's one of Sony's several ports to PC in the last couple years, and well, no spoilers here, but I had a good time. One of the first things I noticed getting into this game was the voice acting. I think it is very solid, but I need to mention that this Kratos is voiced by Christopher Judge. Now, if you're unaware, Christopher Judge is from Stargate SG-1. He played Teal'c, this very stern and emotionally complex character, and, well, he did a great job doing Kratos as well. Another emotionally complex character.
Listen to me. To be effective in combat, a warrior must not feel for his enemy. The road ahead is long and unforgiving. No place for a boy. You must be a warrior.
In addition to that, Atreus is always done well as well, and he has a lot of different emotion, different kind of attitudes that you can see in his mannerisms and the way he speaks to Kratos. It is kind of an interesting dynamic between the two of them. Kratos, well, he had a family once, and it didn't work out so good. So you can definitely get this feeling from him where he is wanting to be there for his son. He really does want to be a good father, but part of that is, well, getting him used to the brutality of life, death, and war.
I will handle this.
On the story side of this game, the Greek pantheon is mentioned quite a bit, but it's not the star of the show this time. This time around, it's featuring Norse mythology and a whole lot of complex concepts about Midgard, Valheim, Heflaheim. There's so many Heims, and you will explore a lot of them in this game. The environments are a little better put together than I think the original trilogy was. It had a reputation for being just a hack and slash, no thinking, just kind of where's the next enemy and crush them. And although that last part is still correct, it is a lot more thought out and a lot more spaced out than I think the trilogy ever was. There are very big maps, and it is an open world concept where you will have to kind of lock yourself in an area for quite some time, but between those times you are checking out different realms, exploring around the giant life tree, and just trying to find all these little collectibles, tokens, different pieces of armor that can buff you up along the way. So there's a lot more RPG elements than I was ever aware of for a God of War title. I mentioned that there's a few realms that you go through. There are a lot of them, and I'm not sure how to pronounce them, so I'm going to avoid that, other than Midgard. I think that's pretty safe. But they each have their own kind of theme going on, whether it's poison, frost, fire. There's kind of like a elemental thing going, but not necessarily changing up the gameplay that much. There is just a different kind of batch of areas to check out. It does a very good job of feeling like a large game, but at the same time, the only changes that you are, really forced to deal with is the different kinds of enemies that come up. And there are a lot of them are from Norse mythology. You get these kind of flying obelisks, there's ogres, there's giants, frost giants, the ones that Thor had supposedly locked away, and there's Draugr, and some of the familiar things that you would come to expect from fantasy. There's dragons, and you do fight the gods. I have to put a little hint out there. Baldur, that's a strong god.
But before I end this, I want you to know one thing. I can't feel any of this.
A lot of this game is moving from, well, kind of point A to B. You're not really sure where you're going other than the loose topic. Okay, we're going to get to the top of the mountain, Atreus. And, well, that's the longest odyssey that I think Kratos has ever had. It is a lot of exploration, but at the same time, the combat is what you come to expect from God of War. There is these kind of combos. You're, like I said, grabbing different artifacts, different upgrades that will give you new abilities that you unlock. And it does kind of lead to, well, a fever pitch when you hit the boss fights. Usually a god, a giant, an ogre, something like that. But this is the series that brought you QuickTime events, and they are utilized well in this game. It's kind of a negative sometimes nowadays with QuickTime events, but I think this one did it in a way that made sense, and it wasn't obtuse. It is really easy to kind of just go on and on and on about this game, but that is really a sign of the quality here. The combat is good to keep you going, and there's enough of an RPG progression that I think it is an upgrade from the combat that I was expecting, at least. The voice acting is on point, the graphics are beautiful just to match that, and there is an emotional realism where you can really feel what these characters are going through. You have kind of, put yourself in Kratos' shoes and what would you do? And I think this was masterfully put together. I loved this game, no surprise by the prior few minutes, but I have to give this a 9 out of 10. I think this is an absolute masterpiece. Leveraging both new and old concepts, this title is a great example of a well-done soft reboot. God of War 2018 is truly a masterpiece.
I'd hope that you, of everyone I'd faced, would finally make me feel something, but you can't.